The flash of light that filled the room was more than just a momentary blinding glow, it was a power that Koba could not understand. It seemed to come from nowhere, as though a force far greater than him had intervened. Naya's monstrous form, the twisted old woman who had appeared in the mirror, faltered for a moment. Her rage was palpable, yet she seemed to be weakened, as if the light had drained some of her power. Koba seized the opportunity and bolted from the bed, his mind racing, his heart pounding in his chest. Naya's voice echoed through the room like a haunting whisper, cold and full of malice. "You have seen the truth now, Koba. There is no escaping what you have unleashed." But Koba didn't stop. Fear surged through him, but it was no match for the desperate need to escape the nightmare that had become his life. He ran out of the room, down the narrow hall, and into the night, his legs carrying him as fast as they could. The moon hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the village of Tamba. He didn't look back, not even once, for he knew that if he did, he would be caught in the terrible trap she had set for him. Koba ran through the winding streets of the village, his breath coming in sharp gasps. Every corner he turned, he expected to see her, Naya, or whatever she truly was, standing in the shadows, waiting to drag him back into the hell she had created. But the streets were empty, and the village was silent, as if the entire world had been held in suspense. It wasn't until he reached his mother's house that Koba finally slowed, his body trembling with exhaustion and fear. Amina was sitting outside, under the large tree in front of the house, her hands clasped together in prayer. When Koba burst through the gate, she looked up, her face serene, yet her eyes seemed to hold a deeper understanding of what had happened. "Koba, my son," she said softly, her voice calm despite the storm of emotions brewing inside him. "I knew this day would come." Koba collapsed in front of her, unable to speak for a moment, overwhelmed by the fear and the pain. He had never felt so helpless. "Mama, I should have listened to you. I should have listened to everyone who warned me. I married a monster, a creature who..." Amina placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch comforting, though her gaze was steady and unwavering. "The truth has a way of revealing itself, my son," she said, her voice filled with the wisdom of someone who had seen the dark and light of the world. "Sometimes, we are too blinded by our desires to see what is before us. But the spirits of the land watch over us, and they will protect those who are willing to listen." Koba wiped his tear-streaked face, the reality of his situation slowly sinking in. "What do I do now, Mama? I don't know how to fight her. I don't know how to stop her." Amina's expression softened, and she stood up, her steps slow but deliberate. She walked over to a small shrine that had been built in honor of the spirits, its candles flickering gently in the night breeze. She knelt in front of it, murmuring a prayer under her breath. "The spirits will guide you," she said after a moment, rising to her feet. "But first, you must return to the house. You cannot run from this, Koba. You must face it. Only then will you find the strength to overcome what you have married." Koba looked at his mother, her face filled with a calm resolve that gave him a sense of hope he hadn't felt in days. He knew she was right. He couldn't keep running. Naya, or the creature that had taken her place, was still out there, waiting for him to return. He would have to confront her, no matter the cost. "Go, my son," Amina said, her voice steady. "The spirits will walk with you. They will light your path." Koba nodded, his fear replaced by a quiet determination. He stood up and, with one last look at his mother, began his journey back to the house he had once shared with Naya. The village was still, the only sounds coming from the rustling of leaves in the trees. His heart raced, but now, instead of fear, it was fueled by something else, an unshakable resolve. As he reached the front door of the house, Koba hesitated. He could feel the oppressive energy that had settled there, a dark force that seemed to cling to the very walls. The windows were cracked, the door slightly ajar, as though Naya, or the creature, was waiting for him to enter. He steeled himself and pushed the door open. Inside, the house was eerily quiet. The furniture was in disarray, and the once beautiful home now felt cold and abandoned. He stepped inside, his footsteps muffled on the wooden floor, and immediately felt the weight of the oppressive air that hung around him. "Naya," he called, his voice firm but wavering with the intensity of the moment. "I know what you are. You cannot fool me anymore. I know the truth." A chilling laugh echoed through the house, sending a shiver down Koba's spine. From the shadows, Naya, or rather, the creature that had taken her place, emerged, her form more grotesque than before. Her face was twisted, her once beautiful features now contorted into a hideous, malevolent grin. Her eyes glowed with an unnatural light, and her body seemed to flicker and change, as if it were not fully human at all. "So, you finally see," she said, her voice like ice. "You think you can defeat me, Koba? You think your prayers and your strength can save you?" Koba stepped forward, his heart pounding but his resolve unshaken. "I don't need to defeat you alone. The spirits of my ancestors are with me. I may have been foolish, but I will not be taken by you." With those words, he reached into his tunic and pulled out a small charm that his mother had given him earlier, a charm blessed by the village elders. It glowed softly in his hand, its power unmistakable. As he raised the charm toward the creature, a brilliant light erupted from it, bathing the room in its brilliance. The creature screamed, recoiling from the light, its form shifting and warping as if it were being burned by the power. "No," it howled, its voice twisting in pain. "You cannot stop me." But it was too late. The charm's light grew stronger, and with a final, deafening scream, the creature disintegrated into nothingness, its dark presence fading away like a bad dream. Koba collapsed to his knees, the weight of the ordeal finally sinking in. His heart was still racing, but he knew that it was over. The monster was gone, and Naya, if she had ever truly existed, was lost to him forever. He stood up, looking around the now empty house. The oppressive energy was gone, and the warmth of the light from the charm still lingered in the air. Koba walked slowly through the house, picking up the pieces of his shattered life. He knew that the road to healing would be long, but he was no longer afraid. The next day, Koba returned to his mother's house, where he collapsed into her arms, grateful for her love and support. "I have learned much, Mama," he said, his voice filled with deep emotion. "I will never again be so blinded by desire that I ignore the truth. I will learn to listen to my heart, but also to the wisdom of those around me. And I will never forget the lesson I have learned here." Amina smiled softly, her eyes filled with pride. "You are my son, Koba. And you have found the strength within yourself to overcome darkness. Remember, the truth cannot be hidden forever. And those who seek it with open hearts will always find the light." From that day forward, Koba never forgot the lessons he had learned. He worked diligently, carving beautiful works of art for his people, but he did so with a heart full of wisdom. He never rushed into anything without first seeking the truth. And when the time came, he found a partner who truly understood him, a woman who stood by his side not because of his appearance, but because of the strength of his character. And so, the tale of Koba and Naya became a cautionary story in the village of Tamba, passed down from generation to generation. It was a story of love, deception, and the power of truth. For Koba, it was the lesson of a lifetime. And he would never forget it. Did you enjoy the tale? I hope so. Please like and share the video, drop your comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notification bell for more enchanting tales like this one. Thanks for watching and see you on the next.